Good day from David Zublick's Awake Nation, and welcome to our guest interviews. And now, to announce today's guests on the Awake Nation. Our first guest is Jesse Beltran. Jesse Beltran is a certified master hypnotist and president of Cosmic Clarity Connections, LLC. He exposes the truth behind Havana syndrome, implants, and targeting. You can find him at mindnexuslive.com. Our next guest is Brooks Agnew. Brooks Agnew is a master engineer, 7-time Amazon bestselling author, host of America Free Radio, world-renowned public speaker and mentor, delivering the present from the future. You can find Brooks at brooksagnew.com. Our next guest is Kate Shimarani. Kate was suspended by the Nursing and Midwifery Council in July of 2020 and arrested after emceeing a rally against a tyrannical lockdown and lies from the British government concerning COVID-19 and vaccinations, along with the rollout of 5G. Kate is on TNT Talk Radio Saturdays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. You can find her at kateshimarani.com. Rounding out the final hour of David Zublick's Awake Nation is Christy Tasker. Christy Tasker is an award-winning technologist and international business consultant. Christy is also an international investigative journalist based in Miami, Florida, who is engaged in fighting the corruption in Miami in the political arena. You can find Christy at patriotsperspective.com, Christy4, the letter 4, Christy4Miami.com, and BananaRepublicNews.com. You can also find her on the Agent X11 channel. Now it's time for the interview portion of David Zublick's Awake Nation. And awake we go with a shot of espresso. It's showtime.
Alarm clock singing in the fog. Feet hit floor like morning jog. Shower steam, the world awaits. Gotta love these waking states. Come prepared.
And good Tuesday morning again, everybody. Today, Tuesday, the 17th of June, 2025. And we do welcome you into the third hour of the Awake Nation, your morning wake-up call that brings you the truth with a shot of blackout coffee. Glad to have you with us. I'm David Zublick.
And I'm Penny Ellie Shepherd.
And I'm Joan Renee.
And we are delighted to have all of you here as well. And let's bring in our very first guest of the day, Jesse Beltran, Mind Nexus Live.com. Good morning, Jesse. How are you today? Glad to have you with us.
Good morning. Good morning. How's everyone doing?
Good.
So are we on for a half hour or an hour today?
Yeah.
Half hour. And I just texted Brooks Agnew, so you can stay till he gets here.
Okay, so I'm going to have to change things up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to, if you could share my screen.
All right.
We'll start off with, let's see here, entire screen. There we go, and share.
And Joan, do you know Jesse?
What?
Do you know Jesse?
Do I know Jesse? No, I don't.
No.
You're in for a surprise.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
A very pleasant surprise.
Yes.
So those who have been following us know that what we do is since 2010, we've been doing a study and doing RF scans, which is radio frequency scans, on a segment of our population here in the United States who complained that they were experiencing anomalous health incidences, or what we know as the government has come forth and said in 2016 is identified as Havana syndrome, but they turned it to AHIs. They say this phenomenon is happening here in the United States to the best of our best, and the FBI, our diplomats, and congressional members. but they do not acknowledge that this is happening to average US citizens. And Dr. Hall and myself have been covering this since then. And we've been documenting this, and people have been coming up positive on preliminary RF scans. Ultimately, we took to Europe and tested them in an anechoic chamber, and were able to prove that in these individuals that they were emitting a frequency for some reason. And ultimately, we've come forth with the Bonnie Keller-B case, and she had biosensors and implants removed from her. Something has changed over the last, since COVID. We're getting a lot of newer and younger victims. And recently I was in Long Island just a couple of weeks ago, and I had the opportunity to meet a gentleman and a divorced husband and wife team who wanted me and demanded that I scan their children. And normally I try to stay away from minors, but these children were very young, under the age of 6. And I expected them to come up negative. And I didn't understand the insistence of the father that I scan his children. And I decided to do it. I got permission from both parents, and I was very shocked. The elder of the 2 children came up positive at identical locations as the adults. And now we are seeing just multiple errors where before, prior to COVID, we were seeing maybe 5, 6, maybe 8 locations light up. Now we're seeing upwards of, over 10 to 14. And in some cases, we've had 17 locations light up. And I couldn't understand this because I asked questions. Well, how could this be? How can this be? The statistical odds of this little child coming up positive, this exactly the same as the adult, was just mind blowing. But what I did not know was the father, who was a software engineer, built a homemade Faraday cage.
Okay.
And he had tested his children in that Faraday cage, and they came up positive. I had no clue. And lo and behold, we got the same results as he did when he put his children in the Faraday cage. So we started to say, how is this possible? And so I'm about to present hypotheses. We've inputted all the data in comparison with known cases where we know that they've had toxicology reports to check for nano tech within their person. And what we're finding is that recent technology allows for undetectable delivery of nanomaterials into the human body via nasal swabs and sprays. These materials will interact with external radio frequencies. And here's a little diagram here where you can see that specific hertz will affect the body in specific ways. You can literally target specific areas of the body by sending RF emissions. And now that we know that the nanotech is being found in the lidocaine derivatives, and I just came across a thesis paper. Actually, it's not thesis, it was peer reviewed. And they're showing that this nanotech is in the vaccines. And what are nanocomposites? They're just basically tiny materials like carbon nanotubes and graphene. This graphene oxide is terrible, and this is the stuff that they're making these nano sensors out of. They can self-assemble inside the human body, and when they're concentrated in specific tissues like the jaw or the spine, they can emit or react to RF signals. Basically, they're very tiny. They're down to 2/1000th the width of a hair, and they're polymers, and these particles are PVP stabilizes these particles, keeping them intact in the tissues. And this supports the long-term presence and function in the body. And what we're finding, and you'll find this interesting, is that chemical tuning for EM fields. There's additives like phenolphthaleate may help adjust how the body absorbs or reacts to the electromagnetic fields, fine-tuning, and RF sensitivity. And by the way, why is this being done? So this is actually the schedule of topics that's going to be discussed in Stockholm. And in fact, that just happened. And if you look down at the end, at the bottom, look what is on the agenda. This is depopulation and migration. Why would they be discussing that? So here's what we discovered. The modified viruses like particles can deliver nanoparticles into the brain, spine, or nasal region. Places often linked to unusual RF emissions. If you know, when we scan people, they're usually positive in the right and left TMJ, the nasal dorsum, the occipital portion, and the anterior base of the neck. And here's a patent application that was done on April 4th of 2013. And basically, it's a microneedle nasal delivery system. And I would ask, how many people across this globe use this type of testing to test to see whether or not they had COVID? It was a brilliant plan. And it was a way.
You're saying this is the home test for COVID?
Yes.
Okay, so not the one you got
Wow.
at the doctor's office. They gave out the home test. You take a nasal swab, and you're saying they put nanotechnology in the test for COVID.
In the test. In the test.
And they got
at
it
the end,
into the kids. That's how they got into the kids.
this is what our hypothesis is. And so now we're going to have to do hair toxicology reports to see if they come up with the chemical compounds that are consistent with having this nanomaterial in you. And, the targeted body locations, as I expressed earlier, we get RF readings frequently, show emissions in the jaw and the TMJ, the base of the neck, the spine, hips and thighs, and the occipital lobe of the scalp. These patents exist for nasal devices with microneedles under 150 microns. They can deliver substances directly to the brain through the nose. So it's easy access. Why the nose matters? The olfactory nerve provides direct access to the brain. Materials delivered here can bypass the body's natural defenses and reach neural tissue. COVID-19 swabs. Emergency use authorization allowed widespread nasal swab use without long-term safety studies. And some swabs have the nanotech coatings, and I'm going to show you a video, and I'm going to monitor my time because this is actually an hour presentation. But it's important that everyone sees that 3-minute video towards the end. Dozens of scans have showed consistent RF signals in the same body areas, especially in people who had PCR tests. This raises questions about common exposure routes. Key red flags: the patents prove microneedle delivery is real. Some nasal swabs reach the brain area. RF activity consistently detected post-exposure, and lack of transparency on swab materials. Okay, what could be delivered? RF reactive nanoparticles, neuromodulators, conductive smart gels, and that is going to be the key ingredient there, this gel. All potentially without visible signs or of known consent. As you know, that we have a petition out there to repeal Section 3024 of the Cures Act that was made into law in 2016 under the Obama administration. And it allows for non-consensual experimentation on U.S. citizens without your consent, as long as it doesn't exceed minimal risk criteria. But we have the fox guarding the hen house. And so all of that data is protected under national security protocols. So the scientific report with our data merged with this. We have multiple peer review sources confirm nasal to brain delivery is possible. Smart polymers react to EM fields and nanomaterials.
Jesse, can I interrupt you for one moment, Jesse? We're going to keep you for the hour. So go ahead and plan on
I'm gonna
doing the hour-long presentation. We've decided to. We made a programming decision.
Well, Brooks joins. We'll just join, and he can make some comments.
We'd rather keep your presentation. I think it's important.
Okay, no problem. Okay, good. So let's see. We're at 5:13. Okay. So if this is true, then what? Materials may be in your body now, and you don't even know it. My suspicion is, if our hypothesis is correct, that the majority of the globe is infected with this nanomaterial, these nanorobots. And in our previous show, we showed Dr. Ido Bachelet, who gave his presentation in 2013 at a TED-Med talk in Israel. And he held up that needle. And he said in the tip of this needle was 1,000 billion robots that he was very proud of, that he just brought from his lab. And these things are controlled by EMF or radio frequency emissions. And he brags about how he teaches his students how to use an Xbox controller and how to maneuver these things throughout whatever they put them in. They can put them in humans, insects, they're doing it, they're putting it everywhere. And I want people to understand that in early 2012-11, I was invited to the Presidential Bioethics Commission at the University of San Francisco. And Amy Gutman was the head. And they were talking about wanting to put, to monitor every living species, every living organism on this planet. And their comment was this, that we are too dumb to decide what is best for us. And that they were the elite 1% of the top 1% who should be making these decisions. And it appears that we've been duped. Under the Cures Act, it's illegal to experiment on us. This is all legal. And the only reason that we have court cases going through is because these court cases aren't being positioned as a human rights violation. They are being positioned as a personal injury because they've been able to pull out the implants and you have the smoking gun, okay? Now they may react with wireless signals, not may, they do. And this tech was known and patented before COVID, and that's important. Dr. Ido Bachelet in 2013 said within 5 to 6 years, they'll be putting these in humans. And if you do the timing, it is quite coincidental that's exactly what's happening, and this stuff is being put in our medications. Why is it important? Well, 95% of our medications are made outside the US, and they're made by our foreign adversaries.
Right.
A lot of them are. And that is a huge national security issue. If you want to put a Trojan horse into the United States, they're doing it. And so people need to be cautious, just be aware. Information and knowledge is power. And it's important that everyone wakes up and starts to understand that we need to be responsible for our own autonomy. We can't trust government. I think this administration right now is our best bet. I know that I can personally say that they're reaching out. And I believe that RFK is truly wanting to do what's best for the United States.
Is he aware of this?
Yes. My understanding is yes. Okay. Testing and disclosure is needed. And I think that's the most important part, because you have the Cures Act under 3024 that basically protects any IRB. That means any experimentation that's going on, they're overseeing, and they're the ones who are judging what normal everyday risk is. And again, as I mentioned earlier, what if you have a psychopath who's just decides that the ceiling for normal everyday risk is the definition is nothing that doesn't happen in normal everyday life. So if death happens every day, is that the threshold? Is that the ceiling? And if that is the ceiling, there's no oversight. So if you're concerned, really what we say is this is a journey. We coach people on how to do what Bonnie Kellerbees did, or there's a case of a soldier down in the East Coast who I scanned up in Virginia right now that's going through the court systems. And I know that there's a case in Tucson, Arizona that I was not involved in, but they also pulled implants out of him following the same protocols that we're using. Basically, you got to have RF spectrum analyzers. You have to have the right equipment. Right now, we're trying to start a project where we're building a clinic where someone can come and be tested for everything in one day instead of having this long journey that we're currently having to do right now.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say, because the problem is you're telling everybody you get scanned, and yet these people are all over the United States. Where are they going to go? And if they tell their doctor about it, he may dismiss it. If he's aware of it, he may dismiss it if he's not aware of it. In other words, if he doesn't really believe this is real, then he'll dismiss it. And if he does believe it is real, he's not going to tell you the truth. So where can you go to make sure that somebody's going to listen to you who's doing the scan? Obviously, you guys do it. You do it. But you're building a place where people can go. Where will it be located?
Right now, we're looking at 2 locations. One's either going to be here in the state of Nevada,
okay,
or it's going to be up in the northeast coast region. Okay. So, yeah. Well, right now, how people are getting scanned, or they're getting a group of folks. We just say, if you can get 10 people who want to get scanned in your location, contact our office and we'll set it up, and then we'll fly out to you and do this, because it's really important that we continue to gather this data. The other thing you're going to want to do is a nonlinear junction scan. A nonlinear junction scan is another type of scanning, but it tests for ferrous material within the human body. It was not designed for that. It was designed to look for rust on airplanes. This engineer created this, and what they found out is that when you utilize it, it will turn on electronics. And so it will send out a harmonic, look for these electronic components. It gets an echo back. It'll send out a second harmonic, which will activate the component, and then a third harmonic so they can locate and get some more data off of that. So it's a really unique test. So we use a culmination of our RF testing. Others will get the nonlinear junction scans. We're actually going to be doing them now, probably in the next 60 days. We're just going through the certification process. But if you overlap the tests, you'll see that they light up in the same locations, relatively around 95 to 100% of the time. You'll need EM imaging tools. Now with the nanotech, we're at a paradigm shift. We're not sure what to do about people who are just filled with this nano material in them. How do you get it out of you? You remember Dr. Ito Bachelet said that you have 1,000 billion of these nano robots that can be controlled with a joystick in the tip of a needle. And we do know that they're in the derivatives of the lidocaine and the COVID vaccines. All of the vaccines had them in them. And I have documentation of a study that was done, and they took them all into a lab, and you can see all of this material in it. So basically, our recommendation is until they start disclosing what's on these nasal insertion devices, and they need to start disclosing what's the ingredients that are being used in them. I don't know, me personally, in my opinion, if I will do that in the future anymore.
There was when these vaccines came out, there were no what they call insert packs with these vaccines that listed any of the ingredients. So you have to really do your homework, obviously, to find out exactly what things are in here. I do have a question about the previous slide and all the equipment. How much is that equipment cost? You can't hear us?
There?
Yeah,
okay,
we're
now
here.
I can hear you. Okay, that was weird. Okay,
Right.
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Okay, I'll ask it again. How much does all of this equipment that you were referring to cost?
Well, what we're trying to raise is $4.2 million right now. The equipment is very expensive. For example, the spectrum analyzers themselves, we need 3 of them, are $100,000 a piece.
Okay.
But we're building an environment where you can go in lay down for about 40 minutes, and we'll be able to detect any emissions and transmissions of frequencies, be able to analyze it. We're using high-powered AI computer systems that will be able to analyze the data within a fraction of a second, and then tell us exactly what that situation is. Ultimately, we believe that we now have the capability to build devices that can protect you from this. And all we need is 3 people on the planet wearing these devices, and we'll be able to triangulate using AI where exactly these frequency attacks are coming from. So we're really excited about this. We have a lot of interest in it, but this is what we've been doing behind the scenes. And people wonder why I've always kept my cards close to the chest. It's because, unfortunately, there's a lot of fragmenting within the communities out there who are trying to get solutions. I've always been a lone soldier, and I've been most affected that way. And I hope people understand and don't get offended, but that's why I've done this. Because
not just that, Jesse. What about all the people that, you know, if they know what you're doing and you put everything out there, they're going to try to find a way to beat the system. All right, well, he's found a way to detect these things. We got to find a way to beat the detection system.
Right.
You can't tell everybody what you're doing.
Correct. Yeah, and that's important. And you, unfortunately, you've got a lot of. I don't understand. You know, the community as a whole needs to bind together and understand that we need to cross the finish line together, holding hand in hand. It doesn't matter who gets there first, but if one gets there, it helps everyone. And that has been our mentality, and we're going to continue to do that. So, you know, our call to action is to ask questions about medical devices. Question everything. You know, don't just take someone's word for it, because right now, particularly if you're being experimented on, there's no way to find out. Even if you do a FOIA request, it's going to be stopped and stonewalled under state secret or under the Cures Act Section 3024.
Yes, and they're still going to do the "you're crazy" routine. Brooks Agnew is here, David.
Yeah, let's bring Brooks Agnew in. Brooks, good morning. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming back again today. Well, we're discussing. You want to give them a little bit of a primer? We're discussing with Jesse Beltran in these people who are being targeted by things that have been put into vaccines and other nanobots being put into
COVID test,
and how to detect them and how to protect people from these attacks.
Yeah, very interesting segment. You know, normally the human body is not affected by radio waves. We don't have any metals in us, but the jab was particularly chemically set up to have the human body begin to gather what we call non-human metals. Human metals would be iron, but it's gathering things like titanium and manganese, and it's building these complexes inside our blood vessels. It's basically turning us into a spectral antenna. And that is exactly
white body networks.
Yes, exactly what your guest is talking about. The body can't pick up or react to these signals unless these metals are in the body in complex. And that's exactly what's happening. And by the way, autopsies are showing 73% of the dead have these metals in them, and it's from the jab.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. So, yeah, to carry on, basically, you know, when I was talking about Section 3024, which allows them to do this legally and covet the data, we really need to, we're asking everyone to sign that petition. We really need to repeal Section 3024. And after we're successful there, then we have to go after the rule of law, because under the rule of law, they could still do this to us. It's important that we get rid of, that we make sure that informed consent must be done in all experiments. We deserve, as human beings, we deserve the right to decide what is best for us. What do I allow in my body? Rape is not legal and on any context here in the United States. So why should this? This is no different. This is someone impeding your body without your knowledge, and it is a complete violation. We advocate for transparency in the healthcare industry, and unfortunately, we forgot about the oath that we take to do no harm, and that's important. So what I wanted to do was
years ago.
yeah. Well, we actually got through this in pretty good time, so we have a lot of questions here. So, David, I put a link in the
yes
the chat. And this, I did an interview with Celestial Column a while back, and she's a brilliant scientific journalist, investigator. And she, I showed her all the data, particularly when we weren't dealing with this nanotech, we were dealing with biosensors that were being surgically removed from people.
Is this the
and we're
interview
showing
referring
their
to the
cases.
Phoenix Dragon here?
Yes, what you want to do is play that, and you want to expand it, because this basically brings everything that I've just expressed to everyone and demonstrated to a close.
All
Conclusion.
right, let me pull that up onto the screen here, and let us play this right now.
They have placed a magnetic beacon. So not only will people be biologically changed, but they will be tagged. And this is owned and operated by Rockefeller. This is part of the Barcode for Life initiative to tag and identify all life forms. No longer will any life form be pure. So that's basically what they're doing, is tweaking us enough that we can be patented. This COVID situation is the first deployment of a construct, a new life form. They have learned how to fuse biological life and robotics. And the purpose of that is for extermination, because they don't want anything of the old world. They want a new world. And they want, by 2025, all the old humans eradicated. And any human from now on basically has to be engineered in a laboratory and enhanced and augmented and part of the matrix. They are retooling and rewiring our bodies. Each one of us right now has 20 to 30,000 nanoparticles. They wanted to put chips in people's brains, but they didn't want to have to do surgery. So after many, many years, they came up with a gel. This gel is called hydrogel or quantum dot, Bill Gates's quantum dot. So what will happen with the vaccine is you get it injected into you, and then it assembles, it self-assembles, and then it swarms through your body, and it crosses your blood-brain barrier, and it takes over your brain. It harvests your fluids in your body, your moisture, as it grows, and it grows until we are no longer human. We are consumed. We are a node in the quantum computer, and the biological self dies because there is nothing left. The only way to avoid it is to say no to the COVID test, to the vaccination. There will be a hydrogel mask where every breath that you take, you will be breathing in these hydrogel particles. They've deployed all these synbios, nanosynbios into our body. They can carry a poison, and it is told, it gets its marching orders from the frequency that is being aimed at it. Like I said, with the masks, the COVID test, and the vaccine, it is critical not to take it. It's bioaccumulative, which means the more you get of it, it stays in your body and it will not go out.
You can go ahead and close that.
Wow. Incredible, huh? Look at that.
Homo Borg erectus. That is now the new definition of the new human today. And early in the Celestial column, she had shared with me that in late 90s, early 2000s, they redefined the definition of what being human is. And so, you know, the question I always put out there, and people have heard me say this before, if you're no longer considered human and the laws are for human rights, and you're no
Then you
longer
have no rights.
human species, you have no rights.
Mhm.
And that's what Celestial is column is referring to. Remember, it's interesting that I told you I was at the Presidential Bioethics Commission at the University of San Francisco teaching hospital. And they said they wanted to tag every single living organism on the planet. They wanted complete control of that data. And it was to master the human genome and the genome of every species on the planet. And they wanted complete control and ownership over it. And that's what's happening.
Jesse, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Because you're talking about the vaccines and the nasal swabs, but have you run across other ways that they're getting that technology in you? Because I think more people than just got the swab and the injections seem to be getting infected with these nanobots. And do you know how they're doing that?
Well, I can tell you that we've been fortunate enough on my team. Some of my colleagues have had a really close relationship with I call her the Nikola Tesla of nanotech, and that is Dr. Hildegard Staninger. And Dr. Hildegard Staninger, 20 years ago, was talking about all this stuff. And quite frankly, I wasn't on board with it. I thought it was kind of out there. But I've recanted that position because she has been 100% on target. And this doesn't have to be done with the needle. This doesn't have to be done with the swab. If you look at what's happening in America today, nanotech is being called something that's cool. You're seeing it in your cosmetics. They're now putting it in food. They're putting in a lot of the products that are out there today. And if you read it, the ingredients closely, you will see they'll write nanoparticles in there that are being utilized. So what are the means of I'll call it an infection, is obviously the needle. Back in the day, we have cases that they've had the grain of rice RFID chips in them.
Right.
Okay, that needs a horse needle that usually, and now they become smaller grain of rice in the 80s and 90s. And in fact, I just had a case a couple of days ago where she's got one of the larger RFID chips, but I believe it's just to track her. But Dr. Hildegard Staninger would do tests like have people swab their vents and they would send it in to be analyzed. You would find the nanotech in there. So what does that mean? It means it's being aerosolized and it's being put into our atmosphere. We're being sprayed with it too.
Chemtrails, food, obviously that, and we've known they wanted to get nanoparticles into the food for quite some time. How about also when you go for a medical test, like an MRI or something along that line? Could they somehow get it into your body then when you're undergoing one of these medical tests?
I'm not a doctor, and I preface that. I'm about the technology size. Yeah. But I do have a strong medical background. I've been in medicine most of my life. I will say this. I doubt that the MRI scans in particular are causing this. And the only thing that when people talk about MRI scans, we do have some MRI scans where they've used contrast and they've been able to see an RFID chip. In fact, I have some samples of that I can show you. But most typically, an MRI is not going to do this. The only way I can think about it, if they're injecting something into you via IV, then that is possible. That is possible.
Or like if they have to do a test where they need to inject a dye into your body to follow it through your bloodstream to see if you have blockages or something along that line, could they get it into you that way?
Yeah. They're using nanotech. Again, it's not the technology that's bad. It's the operators of the technology.
Right.
That are bad. Nanotech in itself, if it was used in the right way, could do some miraculous things. But again, they should be giving you the right to choose whether you want to put this stuff in you or not. Because it can be a modality to make the delivery systems of medications, these dyes, to get to specific areas, whether it's a tumor or cancer you're trying to look at. It could be used in a great way to really hone in and be very focused on that area. And it could deliver whatever its payload is directly to those areas. And it's very efficient that way. So where it doesn't get dispersed to the entire circulatory system. You can target specific areas, but you know, and it is being used in that way in certain circumstances. But in the way that we're talking about, is affecting people in a very negative way. For those who don't know what an AHI is, anomalous health incidents, or the Havana syndrome, you know, the diplomats were talking about hearing these acute onset of these very strange sounds in their head, followed by short-term, long-term memory loss, brain fog, severe pain to the head, nausea, vomiting, vertigo, electrical reverberations to the body, the torso, which is called buffeting. So this is the aspect that we see when people come to us asking for help or direction on what they need to do. I guess, you know, that would answer your question.
Yeah, there may not be everything, but there are certain modalities under which you could go in for some procedure. And I guess we don't want to scare people off from getting medical procedures done if they need them, right? By any stretch of the imagination. However, you have to be careful. Now, you can, I'm assuming, you said that you've seen indications where they are listing the nanobots in the ingredients of the food. So you should read your labels, for one thing, before you purchase anything. You know, for now, before they start
Lucky Charms with nanobots.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, seriously, you know, we have to be real careful. And I would assume if they can do this in vaccines, they're going to start right from birth with the onset of the initial vaccines that are given to all newborns. So you have to prevent this right from the beginning. Yeah, you have to be. I guess you have to become an anti-vaxxer.
Well, I don't want to promote that.
I know you don't want to say, and you're not saying that. I'm not.
Do you guys know each other, Brooks? Do you know Jesse? Jesse, do you know Brooks?
No, I don't. And really, it's not about being anti-vax, not at all. It's about informed consent. What are you doing? And do I consent to you doing that? You know, in times past, radiopharmacology would take and design drugs, and we attach them to enzymes that are area specific to the human body. And these chemicals have big molecules or big atoms in them, like bismuth, and we neutron activate the bismuth. We stick neutrons to the bismuth. Then the enzyme goes to that location of the body. The bismuth has an alpha decay, which destroys local tissue, which hopefully is the tumor because it's the most dense tissue. And it's very effective. It works very well. So they've been trying to improve this technology to deliver that alpha decay or deliver that effective drug or radiopharmacology to the exact area that they're trying to affect. And when you have, you know, cancer of the lymphatic system, it's everywhere. So it has to be specific and go to these tiny areas and wipe out these abnormal high density cells. And it works and is saving lives. But the people know what's going on there. It's informed consent. That's what this is all about.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what's interesting is we put in the data of those who were coming up positive in toxicology reports and our RF frequency data. And what AI generations is coming back with is this hypothesis is that these nanobots will assimilate into high density nerve endings, and particularly the lymphatic system and so forth. This is why we're only detecting in very specific focal areas in our RF frequency scanning. It's not random. It's almost identical every single time.
And then the human body does that. The human body stores T cells by these nerve endings. They wait for signals from the body. Something's wrong. T cells are activated and off they go to do their job. They're mimicking the biological system.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So we're all becoming the Internet of Things, this wide body area networks that they're creating. So you have a bunch of human nodes out there. And if you recall the Dawn DeVore case, who was the nurse who blew the whistle on them drugging prisoners, implanting them, doing studies on them with frequencies, incapacitating and basically virtually tasing them, trying to get them aggressive, trying to see if they can incapacitate them. And it was very successful. But they did this to Dawn, and she sued and she settled out of court for $5 million. but they pulled these implants out of her, these biosensors out of her. But that IBM report disclosed that they were doing this, and that was in Discovery. You can look up her case, and in Discovery, it's the Telesis connection. It was a subsidiary of IBM, and they were the ones that were doing this study and implanting prisoners. Now, and it said that they are walking, talking surveillance units. Okay, so what does that mean? What did we do during COVID? How many prisoners did we let out of the prisons?
Right.
They specifically said that they were going to let them out in that IBM study so that they can find out who their connections were outside the prisons. But now if you put this in every human being, every living organism on the planet, then there's nothing that whoever's overseeing the program can't know. And that's important for everyone to understand. If we need your help, we need to get to 1 million signatures so that we can go to Washington, D.C. and get everyone on board. There are certain people in D.C. right now who have their ear open to what we're doing.
Goodness.
And there's a lot of things that are happening in the background, but it's important. This is important to preserve the human species.
I'm assuming this is the portal.
This is it. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the portal. And
Well,
if you
go
click
to
on that,
mindnexuslive.com, and under services, they have RF testing, RF pricing book scan. This is Recall 3024. So you want to click on that to take you to this page where you can click the sign now button and get that.
go ahead and click that, David, and then they'll see what it takes you to.
Okay, so you got 1,398 signatures, so we need a hell of a lot more than that.
Yes, we do.
The issue is completely laid out as Jesse has been doing here. You put your name, last name, your email address. I'm going to do this today for sure. And then is there some way that people can help you with donations to be able to help purchase this equipment that you're talking about that's millions of dollars worth to help these people?
Yeah, right now we're looking for angel investors. We have several people who are interested right now. So I don't want to go to the community just yet, but if we have to, we'll go there. We'll do like a GoFundMe project specifically for this. But right now we're in talks with some angel investors because there's a significant ROI when you have a solution, because not only intelligence agencies are going to want this, there's going to be a version there, and then there's going to be the general population. They're going to want this, which would be much more affordable for them. But that's what we're doing right now, and that's what we're working on. But it's important right now. This is the most imperative thing that humanity can do right now, is we need to get to 1 million signatures so that we can walk into any office in DC and say, hey, look, this needs to change, and we need to repeal this. There should always be informed consent. People ask me all the time about Elon Musk. What do you think about what he's doing? And I said, well, there's a difference there. He's informing you. He's allowing you to make the decision on whether you want an implant in your brain or not. But ultimately, you got to understand what you're doing when you give someone that kind of access. In the New World Vistas report, on page 98, it was released by the United States Air Force to be a superpower 50 years into the future. It's page 89, it says biological processes. And it talks about imprinting memory sets and erasing memory sets.
Oh, God.
That is where we're at. And this is the kind of power and control that the elites, those who believe they are the top 1% of the top 1%, that's the kind of power they yield right now.
Tom
So
Althouse has
we need to
talked
take our
about
power
that.
back. Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to take our power back.
Google believes they're there. They delete our memories that we've put into the web so that our kids can never hear our voice. But before Google, I am.
Yeah. Well, you
I
talked
wonder
about
about the Mandela effect.
Yeah.
True that.
You talked about informed consent, Brooks, and you said you don't need to be an anti-vaxxer. I don't disagree with you, but there's so much pressure put on new parents to have these kids vaccinated right from the beginning, to the point where you're pretty much ostracized by your doctor if you don't do it. So I guess the informed consent has to start now, before people get pregnant and have kids, to make sure that this is not going to be done when they're under a tremendous amount of pressure and they're concerned about the health of their newborn infant. So they're being told, we got to get this done. You don't want to subject them.
Well, they don't want the resistance to exceed 10%. As long as it's below 10%, everybody benefits from herd immunity. But once it gets over 10%, you now have a possibility of having a carrier of a disease in the population. So as long as it's less than 10% of the population, it's not an issue. But if people start panicking and it gets to 25, 28, 30%, now you get to a point where you can actually have disease spread again. And these are diseases we've already wiped out, like smallpox or measles or things like that. But if your community is, 94% vaccinated, you don't have to vaccinate your kids.
There's also evidence beginning to mount that these vaccines, these initial vaccines, might be what have caused sudden infant death syndrome
and autism and all kinds of other things. And it's not just the vaccine, it's the drug interaction.
Right.
Once you get to 40, 50, 60 vaccines, they don't know how these things react with one another.
No,
it's a synergistic effect that they don't study.
Correct.
Elon Musk's first baby died of SIDS. And subsequent to that, I think all of them have been via in vitro fertilization, either for his actual spouse at the time or for, his potential baby mamas. Some probably conceived naturally, but the majority, I believe, were conceived through IVF. Also, Amber Heard conceived a baby through IVF with Elon Musk. So is that the precipitating factor for him because of the fact that his baby died of SIDS? Did his baby die of SIDS because the baby was vaccinated?
Yeah. I know as a paramedic, when I was out in the field, I always wondered in the back of my head if there was some type of correlation between the two, between sudden infant death syndrome and the vaccine, or was it more environmental? But,
Well, they try to get, you're putting the baby on their, what is it? You're supposed to lay a baby on its side. If you put them on its stomach, it did stop breathing. Maybe some of that was true, but there was a lot more to it. And I'd be curious to know if a study is going to be conducted of children that are not vaccinated from the beginning. And if there's any way to correlate the disappearance of SIDS because of that. If
it's already been done.
Yeah, it has.
Amish don't suffer from it at all.
That's
Okay,
right.
well, there you go.
Interesting.
Do the Amish have any autism either?
Almost no occurrence of autism or hyperactivity, and no SIDS.
Yeah.
Also,
Incredible news.
yeah, I was just going to say too, because I've got relatives in the industry. There was someone there, a grown-up, and said, well, I've never been vaccinated. And the doctor says, well, you probably don't have any allergies either, do you? And they go, well, no, I don't. So I don't know what that means, but that, when the doctor says, oh, well, you probably don't have any allergies. Well, what does that mean? Is this common thing that they seem to pick up on these non-vaxxed or what?
I never met anyone that had a nut allergy until 30 years ago.
When you were in school, did you ever hear of not being able to have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich when you brought your lunch to school because some kid had another? No. Did you ever have flying on a plane where they said, we have a passenger who's nut sensitive, so we're not passing out peanuts today?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, so it's time to wake up. And I thank you guys. You guys have been a blessing, a godsend.
So have you
and
to
we
us,
got to continue to spread the word.
I think you and Brooks need to know one another.
You're doing a lot of good, Jesse. We really admire you and enjoy having you on the show because this information has to get out. And we're going to put the link to first to Mind Nexus Live and then directly to the petition page to sign it right in the description of today's program. I want as many people as possible to go. I mean, it's not going to cost you anything to sign it, folks. Don't you want this information? We should need a hell of a lot more than 1,398 signatures. Come on, let's demand this information. So go there and sign today. And is there anything else, Jesse, before we wrap things up with you that you would like to say about this, or anything else that our viewers need to know?
No, it's right now is the time to take back your autonomy. This isn't probably it's too late for us, although I hope not. But this is about your children, the future of your great grandchildren, your loved ones, everyone in the future. And this is about preserving the human species. Remember, they're now terming us Homo Borg erectus is the new terminology they're using for us now. Okay, the studies show that with this nanotech, most of the academia is saying you can change a species within 6 generations. But Dr. Rima Lebow, Dr. Hildegard Staninger,
We have her on the program all the time, Dr. Rima Lebow.
you can change a species in 1 generation. So
how do we get these nanobots? Let's assume we can bring everybody the awareness to everybody, but people already who have these in them, how do we get them out?
Well, I'm working with a very talented group of people. We're talking top 1-2% in their field. People that work on with NASA, the Project Galileo, and those types. And we strongly believe that we're going to have to create a code virus and using EMF to send this data. We're probably going to have to come up with a solution like that to make this stuff inert.
Yeah, he's right. You have to step into kind of a disabling microwave chamber and just fry them all.
Yep. Yeah. So
Well, hopefully not the person with the frying of the nanobots.
We can all stand a little frying, I think.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, we have to.
It says in Matthew 24, chapter 22, except those days be shortened, all flesh will be wasted at his coming. I think these are the times they're talking about, and hopefully these days are shortened.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I would agree. Well, Jesse, we want to thank you once again. We look forward to talking to you again real soon. And again, we'll put all the links in the description of today's program. Please go sign that petition. And Brooks, I want to thank you also for showing up again today. We appreciate both of you very much and your contributions to this program, and we look forward to talking to you both again real soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Until next time.
Right, thank you. Brooks Agnew and Jesse Beltran. MindNexusLive.com is his website. BrooksAgnew.com is Brooks's website. And make sure you go to both. We'll put the description of both of those in today's program as well.
That was just fabulous.
Scary stuff. Joan, what do you think?
Well, I think people need to know it and need to, don't dismiss it, because they're not the only ones saying that this is happening. There's more and more, and they're professionals, doctors and scientists that are uncovering this and sharing it. And so don't listen to MSM about it. Just
good God, no.
Oh, you're not going to get anything from the MSM. You're going to only get it here on this program and Agent X11 and trauma triage and all this stuff. We're doing this. We're getting the information out there. And
don't send us a Snopes debunk thing.
Yeah, don't do it.
No, yeah, please. Oh God, no. You know what you also can't debunk? Every once in a while, people, talk about drinking our new blackout coffee. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback.
Did they black out?
No, but you know what? Sometimes on a real hot day, like it's going to be in the 90s this week, you know what you need? You need their cold brew. And they have the cold brew blueberry latte. And it is delicious. You've got to try it. All right. So I want you to do, folks, I want you to go to click the QR code in the lower left-hand corner of your screen to take you to blackoutcoffee.com with our special code this week, a 20% discount when you go there through our link. You got to click that QR code or go to our website, theawakenation.com, and you can click the link there, and it'll also get you that 20% discount. All right. What do you think about that? Cold brew. Let's get that going. And it comes in more than one flavor, but this is the blueberry. You're going to love it. You're absolutely going to love it. And no caffeine, I mean, not no caffeine, no sugar, and no... it does have caffeine. We can't. Yeah, that's the whole.
It's got blackout caffeine. I'm sure
they do have a decaf too. Now I ordered the pods because I've got a Keurig, so and I use.
That's what I need for my 45-minute slumbers. After I've had 45 minutes of slumber.
You need more than 45 minutes of sleep.
I know. It's just I need my beauty sleep 45 minutes. I'm still not as beautiful as I need to be.
Oh, you could never be anything less than beautiful. Both of you ladies you are eye candy in addition to everything else for this show. You're eye candy. So,
that is true. I have been actually hit up by people asking me about Joan Renee. They didn't ask me about me. They asked me about Joan Renee. Is she single?
If I turn off the filter, that'll stop.
Oh, no. No, Joan, it won't stop. Because you know what? Beauty
they also love your beautiful personality.
Beauty is more than skin deep. And you're a beautiful person on the inside. You've helped so many people. Goodness. And you've helped a lot of people on trauma triage. And you're helping us out today. And we love you. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Then we have the 4th hour of the show coming up. And we are scheduled to be joined by, and I don't see her anywhere yet, but we're scheduled to be joined by Kate Shamarani and then Christy Tasker at the bottom of the hour. So stay